injury. Buckley says with the team still a chance to play finals, he's expecting nothing short of maximum effort at the MCG.
Yeah, we've got injuries, as do a lot of other sides, but no, we've come off a strong second half performance last week under duress, so we take fair bit of belief with that. We need to bring that for 4 quarters against Hawthorn to be competitive.
Roger Federer will face another Aussie in the second round of the US Tennis Open after his straight sets win over Marenko Matosevic. He'll take on big serving Sam Groth, and Australia's top-ranked female Sam Stosur will take on Estonian Kai Kanepi. Now the 5AA forecast.
For Nestlé Sustagen Hospital Formula. Stay strong, stay active.
Sunny today, a top of 23. Tomorrow, much the same, 23. Partly cloudy for the weekend, tops of 22. Then a shower or two for Monday, 17, and a possible shower Tuesday down to 15. More news as it happens on 5AA.
1395 5AA. Call 8223 0000 to Talk Adelaide. This is Peter Godfrey.
Good morning. It's 6 minutes past 5 and we're down to 8 degrees. It's about as low as we've been all night. On a 7.8 we were down to half an hour ago. There we go. We've come up a bit. A lovely day ahead, which will be nice. Let's head across the ditch, see what's happening over there. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz joins us from New Zealand. Hey Selwyn, how are you?
Yeah, good morning, Peter. Very good, thank you.
Good week? A good week for you?
Well, it's certainly been a hectic week, Peter. All this politics, right in the middle of the campaign over this side of the ditch, and every turn there's something new, that's for sure.
And, well, is it all centred around this book you've spoken about the last couple of weeks, Dirty Politics, and all the revelation, more fallout since we last spoke?
Yes, much of it. There has been policy begin to emerge as well, but certainly I think the New Zealand public is looking at the politicians through a different lens than it was a few weeks ago, Peter.
Yeah.
This dirty politics, the fallout that has been coming out that's in evidence now is that basically it's having an effect on the polls now, that we can see that the Nationals that are in government over here, they are dropping significantly. Now, the latest poll was the 3 Read poll, which is the 3 News, one of the main television networks over here, and that came out last night. That poll took into consideration the first week post this book being published, this Dirty Politics book, which pretty much lays bare the Nationals' tactics in using, dirty politics to actually get things over their opponents. So what the poll situation is, Peter, is we've seen, like I just mentioned, the Nationals starting to drop significantly. Now, remember, the Nationals have been enjoying almost 6 years of unprecedented support in an MMP environment. The party itself has, on these polls that I'm citing here, the three Read poll, they've been sitting up well over the 50% mark, which in MMP is almost impossible to hold at that level. Now, this one the last poll started to show it dropping down. This most recent one, it continued that free fall, if you like. I think it's fair enough to say that in the sense of how much is being shed. So the Nationals are down now to 45%. And these polls, as we saw in the 2011 election, were quite favourable to the National. I don't mean it was stacked up, but the methodologies used, like the emphasis on landline polls and everything, was found to be in the Nationals' favour.
Okay.
That more people that would vote for National had landline telephones as opposed to cell phones,
okay.
et cetera, et cetera.
So in other words, that 45 could actually be in fact lower, is that what you're saying?
Well, this is where
possibly.
the Nationals themselves are very, very worried, because in the last election, all of these polls were showing it 5% above where it actually sat down to. So if you're looking at 45% for National at the moment, it's quite possible that the reality of that is getting down around the 40%, 41, 42%. Already National has said in the past that if it gets down below 47%, then it's dog tucker, as they say.
Oh, okay. I like that expression.
So with this particular poll, and one of the other main significant aspects of it is that the Prime Minister, his popularity, which is, once again, he's been one of the most popular Prime Ministers in New Zealand history from the point of view of the regard that the New Zealand voting public has for him as a person. Now, that is down below the party now. His popularity is 41.4% in this particular poll. There have been other polls which, wow, it's hard to kind of fathom the difference here, considering that the margin of errors are down around 3%. But in another poll about a week ago, the Prime Minister, not in the same band here, this is a different poll, showed his popularity had dropped into the mid-50s. So, sometimes the public must be thinking, well, what are these polls? You've got 55% saying he's, in favour of the Prime Minister. And then you get this poll saying it's 41%. So what we're doing here is trying to actually give comparisons within the band of the methods that are being used to acquire that kind of data. And it looks very significant that the Prime Minister now is polling below his party itself. And traditionally he is polled above it.
And assumedly these results are in response to the revelations in this book, or predominantly?
Yeah, well, the revelation, since I spoke to you last week, Peter, there's been right through the weekend there was more evaluation on whether or not the Prime Minister has been lying to the New Zealand public. Remember that the Prime Minister has been loath to engage on or even admit that the allegations in the book Dirty Politics were accurate and factual. But as it's come to pass over the last 2 weeks, as there has been more raw data, meaning the raw emails that were hacked, released to the New Zealand public, that show categorically that the information is correct. The Prime Minister's reputation has been slapped around all over the country.
So there must be some furious strategising going on behind the scenes then to damage control.
Yeah, well, the strategy's being in place here. I've written about myself, Peter, that in some ways the National Party is no longer the tight ship it was, that there are huge segments of National Party supporters, those right inside the core of this political party, who are absolutely gutted at realising what others have done to their own party through these dirty politics means. What the effect is here is that they're starting to talk to people like journalists like myself and others are getting a clear picture of the fallout from within the party. For example, on the weekend, I was told by a key strategist inside National that it was going to be seeding more and more information to try and get it on the front foot relating to the economy, because its own polls had shown that even if it was bad news on the economy, that the New Zealand public believed that National is the best party to dig New Zealand out of any debt ditch that it might have created. And that preference for National to handle the economy was 2-1 to Labour. So 2 in favour of National and only 1 in favour of Labour on this, even if it was stuff that the Nationals had created themselves. The other thing is that they were looking to hook the economy debate onto a core social portfolio, and they did that. And the information that was provided on the weekend was suggesting that they would do that with housing, and that's exactly what came to pass. So that was 24 hours before the Prime Minister officially launched his election campaign, and we were already writing about what they had kept so secret that they were going to announce the next day. So this gives an impression of how much in disarray the National Party has been. In the past, it's been a very tight ship, and particularly with independents, in that kind of space.
Just going back to those polling results, so with the fall in support for the National through those polls, is there a rise for Labour, or is it going elsewhere?
No, this is the interesting thing here, Peter. The Labour Party has actually shed some support. So, a lot of people will be thinking, what on earth is going on there? So the Labour Party has actually lost almost the same, well, it's actually lost a fraction more support in this particular poll than the Nationals have. So Labour has fallen 2.6% down to 26.4%. So you can see it's been struggling. The those are the beneficiaries of this particular change in the public mood toward the Nationals have been the Green Party in the first instance. It's gone up to 13.5%. The Internet Mana Party, that's the one that's been funded by Kim.com.
Yeah.
That's sitting around the 2.1%, but some polls are suggesting that that's actually double that it's up around the 4%. The Conservative Party, which is, well, no introduction there, it's been out of politics. It hasn't been able to make Parliament in the electoral sense, but it's very close to now looking like it can get in. It's sitting there at around in the 4% band. You've also got New Zealand First. Remember, this New Zealand First is very much a nationalistic party. Its leader, Winston Peters, has a no-compromising, aggressive stance to any of his opponents. He's the individual that the Prime Minister, up until very recently, said he would just not deal with should he be seeking a coalition partner post-election. But now it shows that if the Nationals have any chance, Peter, of getting in, they've got to hope like anything that the Conservatives get in, and they've got to make friends with Winston Peters' New Zealand First Party very, very, very quickly.
Could they? Could they make friends?
Could they? Anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
But we've got to say that Winston Peters has been tearing the National Party apart.
Oh, okay. That doesn't help.
So the question is if the Nationals are sitting there, say, on 42% and they need New Zealand First and the Conservatives say they get into Parliament and they have, 5% or whatever, New Zealand First has the rest there. There is still a question as to whether or not he will support National or whether or not he would support the Labour Green bloc, or would he go that other way where he would say, no, I'm going to sit on the cross benches and I will only support policies and legislation that I agree with, which, of course, holds the whole Parliament to ransom. Yeah,
and all this with in mind that it's only, 3 weeks to your election?
Yeah, 3 weeks. The other thing, too, is, the political scientists talk about, without boring your listeners to tears, they talk about the public sphere, and when there's a stable kind of view amongst sectors and groups in the greater public, the cumulative kind of swirl of information and opinion within the public, then those polls are quite accurate in a sense, or reasonably accurate. But when things are in a turmoil, a maelstrom, if you like, that it's very difficult for pollsters to actually nail down what really is going on. Yeah. So this election, one of the most seasoned writers and analysts and columnists for the New Zealand Herald, he said to me this week that he has never experienced in all his years, and it goes back decades, in an election campaign like this one, he said in his words, it's surreal.
Yeah, and from this side of the ditch, looking at it from afar, that's probably a good summing up of it, I think.
There you go.
Extraordinary stuff. So we'll just take a quick break and we might get away from politics onto something that's probably a little bit more palatable. The rugby.
Might not be, though, Pete.
Well, no, maybe, yeah. Maybe I'll put my foot in it there. Be right back in a moment, Selwyn. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz. New Zealand joining us. We'll talk rugby, All Blacks, Wallabies next.
There is some new news about eye health. Clinical trials of pure 20 milligrams of saffron, or Sativus Pure, indicate that a daily supplement can, in some people, help to support eye health, may arouse the macular functions, and help support the vision cells. If you or someone you love want support for healthy eye function, call 0451 137 077 or learn more at clearsightclearmind.com.
Always read the label. Use only as directed.
It's a dish that began in Austria, was embraced by Australia, and now has been perfected at the Albion Hotel and the Birkenhead Tavern. It's the schnitzel. So loved, the Albion and the Birk decided to declare it Schnitzel Day every Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Get a beef or chicken schnitzel, including the salad and vegetable bar, for just $11.90. $11.90 schnitzels every Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at the Albion Hotel Kilburn and the Birkenhead Tavern, all part of the Barreau Hotel Group.
Finals footy returns to Adelaide Oval when the SNFL IGA League Final Series kicks off this Saturday night. Norwood battle Sturt in the qualifying final at 4:40, who will have what it takes to earn a place in the second semi against Port Adelaide Magpies. Then at 7:40, see South go head-to-head with the Eagles under lights in the elimination final. It's make or break for both teams. Adults only $15. So bring your mates, bring the kids and bring it on. Because this is the SNFL IGA League. This is finals football.
Imagine losing the ability to make your own decisions about your life, where you live, and your ongoing healthcare. It's a frightening thought, but any of us through illness or injury could lose the ability to make decisions for ourselves. There is a way to continue to have a voice. It's called an Advance Care Directive. An Advance Care Directive gives those caring for you a clear understanding of your needs and wishes in case you can't express them yourself. To create an Advance Care Directive, visit advancecaredirectives.sa.gov.au.
A message from the Government of South Australia.
If you think a gig was that Black Sorrows concert you saw in '88, you're sadly mistaken. You need Gigs to You. Australia's greatest geeks will come to your home or office and fix any computer problem. Get your hard drive humming. Call Gigs to You. For fast, friendly, same-day service, call 1300 Gigs to You. That's 1300 433 572. No one fixes computers like a geek. Gigs2u.com.au.
Morford Air has been servicing and installing air conditioning in Adelaide for over 40 years. And for anyone to last that long in business, they must be doing it right. So, when the brass monkeys arrive, Morford Air installed Dakin's energy-efficient wall split and fully ducted systems to keep you warm and cosy in winter. Check us out at morfordair.com.au and also like our Facebook page to be kept up to date with any service and sales specials on Dakin.
Morford.
So, you boys are with Dial Before You Dig?
Yes, Doug. I'm Dave and this is Dan.
Hey, nice deck, Doug. Did all the digging myself. And, yep, I did check with Dial Before You Dig.
That's great, Doug. It's the essential first step.
Don't want you digging up any pipes or cables. Could be dangerous. Dead right, Dan. Can I get you boys some dip or a drink?
Definitely, Doug.
Hey, Deb, do you mind getting the boys a drink?
Dial Before You Dig. The essential first step. Lodge your free inquiry by calling 1100 or log on to 1100.com.au.
Talking Adelaide with Peter Godfrey on 1395 5AA.
21 past 5. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz is with us, talking things New Zealand. Actually, just one thing to add, Selwyn. You've written quite an interesting analysis of this whole issue with the dirty politics and John He on your website, livenews.co.nz, for anyone to sort of digest a bit more of that info. A matter of whether John Key is credible. Nice headline.
Yes, so, it's probably a very fair headline when you consider all the data and information that is coming out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's on livenews.co.nz to have a look at. Now, the rugby, our Wallabies a couple of weeks back tied with the All Blacks in Sydney last weekend. Not so good. The Wallabies got a thumping by the All Blacks. Can see a couple of things out of that, can't you? What do you say? You can see how the All Blacks can be beaten, but you can also show how formidable they are.
Yes, that's
Each
right.
way bet there, Selwyn.
That's very true. I mean, that game in Sydney, there were a lot of concerns and leading into that the All Blacks perhaps were starting to show how they could be nailed, and that the Wallabies were showing all of those attributes that would make that possible.
Yeah.
So the draw was seen in some circles as, well, the All Blacks got out of that hole that they were getting dug into. And remember that the Wallabies, they spoiled the All Blacks' chances of making a record unbeaten 18 international rugby tests on the trot that they had won. So, and over here, that draw hurt.
That
went
hurts,
deep,
yeah.
Peter.
Yeah.
And the respect for the Wallabies and where they are in preparing for next year's World Cup was certainly starting to get elevated. When the Wallabies came over here last weekend, Peter, to play the All Blacks at Eden Park, there is a tradition with Eden Park where the All Blacks haven't lost at Eden Park, although coming close many times, going back, we can't even remember when it was back in, decades. So with that particular game, knowing that the Wallabies had looked at the All Blacks, saw where they were, where they weren't so strong, that the All Blacks were in trouble, perhaps. Some were saying still that it was going to be close, but boy, when that ball bounces in your favour, and when the game starts to go, these guys, they are formidable, and they really showed, I think, the rest of the rugby playing world the kind of standard that they intend to take into the World Cup next year. But there are two sides down here in the Southern Hemisphere that really can start to peel the All Blacks away. One of them is the Wallabies, and most certainly South Africa's Springboks. And we know that it goes without saying that they're determined to knock the stuffing out of the All Blacks when they face them in a few weeks' time.
Okay, and is that in New Zealand or in South Africa?
Well, the fixtures are spread around because there will be a couple of games, one in South Africa, one in New Zealand, and certainly the games. The Wallabies will be playing Springboks as well, and Argentina, their team, the Pumas, will also be in the mix. So it's the Southern Hemisphere's major competition, and it's the kind of competition really that the Northern Hemisphere teams, particularly those around, the United Kingdom teams, and France, certainly France, they kind of watch absolutely every move to see how they can nail these southern teams from being able to push them into the dirt, Peter. So the rugby season, while we're coming to the end of our winter and the rugby season down here, this kind of competition is going to certainly put some fear into the main opposition, which is the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes, indeed. We'll look forward to all of that. So, many thanks for joining us this morning, and have a great week. We'll catch you again next week.
Okay, see you soon, Peter.
So we're Manning in New Zealand. Head to livenews.co.nz for a whole lot more. 25.5 minutes past 5 now.
Time is precious to us all. When breast cancer strikes, you fear you may run out of time.
When I heard the results, my heart just stopped.
But research has given us the gift of time, improved early detection, developed new treatments, and increased survival rates.
I was so excited my mum was there.
And one day soon, research will conquer breast cancer. Time for research depends on your support.
Donate at nbcf.org.au.
Hi, Kevin Sheedy here. Long way back I was a plumber, so I know how frustrating it is standing around waiting for repairs you need. I also know a name you can trust is Ryco. If you need hydraulic hose repairs in a hurry, Ryco 24/7 is the mobile service that will come to you, wherever you are. Their vans are on the road with fully qualified and certified hose repairers, supported in SA by another trusted name, BL Shipway. Call Ryco 24/7 on 133 247 or check them out online at ryco247.com.au.
You've called the roller